Hello there, it's Simone. I'm happy that you are joining me today. I want to swatch some inks. The reason why I'm swatching those is because I have gone through my currently inked pens and found several that are empty or almost empty. I've written them dry since and cleaned them, but I swatched the ones that are still left over, and you saw the swatches, the teeny tiny tiles in the beginning of the video, and they were really super dark. So I decided I needed to ink up some more pens so that I could create a more cohesive palette with some lighter inks, maybe more vibrant. I'm not so sure if I achieved that quest of this time around in my fountain pens that I have currently inked, but I just wanted something to balance out the really bold and dark colors. And so I went into all the ink samples that I own and looked for colors that were light, bold, no, not bold, light, bright, that kind of stuff. And I found 4 that I have not swatched yet, that I have not really seen on paper yet, but that I'm really interested in having in a fountain pen and seeing what they look like on swatch cards and all the different things. When I usually swatch inks, I do that in this notebook. This is a Tomoe River paper. It's 52 GSM, and I purchased it from Paper Penguin Co. And then I use it on these Tsubame ink cards, I think that's what they're called, and then also on these coloring pages or papers. There's no reason other than I just love having these various different resources to pick inks. I enjoy the process. I love seeing how these inks perform on the different papers, and I just recently did some research on the Tsubame paper, and I do believe that that is bank paper, but I'm not 100% sure. The first ink that I'm swatching is Lamy Mango, and to be 100% honest, I thought it was darker than this. I'm looking at these other Tsubame ink cards, just that I fill them out the same way that I usually do that, because I'm very nerdy like that, and I'm not ashamed. And so yeah, so I just looked that up. I usually write down the name of the ink, the company that makes it, maybe if it was a special ink, a collaboration or so, and then in those little squares I write if it's a bottle or a sample, and if I got that sample from a pen friend, then I also write the name of the pen friend in those squares. And on the Tomoe River paper, I just doodle a tiny bit. I haven't done that before, but I've seen many people on YouTube do that, and I really love how that looks, and so I decided, why not? The coloring paper or card, I write the name of the company, the ink, and then I swatch it so that it fades out towards the bottom. So on the top left corner are more layers than on the bottom right. Yeah, so if you're curious, I did ink up a fountain pen with the Lamy Mango, but I'm curious to see how it writes, but it's not as vibrant as I had imagined it to be from the name. The next color that I'm using is the Sailor Manyo Nekoyanagi, and I am really smitten with a lot of the Manyo inks that I see other people swatch or other people share in their fountain pens. Those are definitely inks that I would purchase in a bottle, because there are some that I don't necessarily like. I would probably always use or purchase a sample before, but they have some amazing ink properties. They're not too light. Not sure about this one that I'm swatching right now, but oh my gosh, the way the ink dries in the swatch is amazing. I did not put this in a fountain pen. I went with another one, but it's definitely one that I need to ink up in one of my fountain pens really soon, because I want to see how it writes in a pen with a feed and nib compared to the glass dip pen. Of course, the glass dip pen is bolder. It has more ink, dispenses more ink, brings more ink onto the paper when I'm writing. And so it's really hard to determine from those swatches if that ink will look even remotely close to what it will look like in a fountain pen. If you use a bold nib or broad nib, that's what it's called, or a medium nib, then yes, it's probably very close to what the line width that I make with the glass dip pen. But if the feed is a very dry feed, or the pen is a very dry pen, then it's not bringing that much ink onto the paper, and it still can look very different than what I'm seeing here. But nevertheless, I still swatch the inks just to get a general feeling for the ink. I'm less likely to put these lighter inks into a fine nib, but with medium nibs, and I now do have a broad nib and a double broad nib, they do come out legible, which is something that I'm interested in. And so that is always an option, to go with a broader nib for these lighter inks. This is the only Sailor Yurameku ink, and these are, if I'm not mistaken, they're called Chroma shading inks. And what the interesting thing about these inks is that they perform differently on different papers. And you can actually see that quite well on the Tomoe River paper compared to the Tsubame ink card. On the Tomoe River paper, the overall feel of the ink is gray with a tint of purple, and when the where the ink is much thicker, you can actually even see some purple when it's dry. But on the Tsubame ink card, it looks more green, which is interesting. I don't really like the way the ink comes out on the Tsubame ink card. I'm more of a fan of that gray purple tint, so it's probably not an ink I would purchase. But I wanted to try them and see for myself what they are all about. And so I was thinking of putting that into one of my fountain pens, but ultimately, again, I'm not going with it. I had found one ink from the Diamine ink vent from 2021. So I plan on filling up 3 pens, so I already have 1 spot taken up, and so of those 4 inks I'm going to choose 2. And since I didn't have a lot of red, orange, yellowish leaning inks inked up, I actually knew that I wanted to put the Lamy Mango in a pen. But I had just the last rotation, I had the Diamine Wonderland, which was also in the ink vent calendar in a pen. And that is a much brighter orange, and it really, really looks amazing. So if you're looking for an orange ink and this is available as a standalone ink, not sure, you would have to do your research, then I highly recommend that ink for sure. The Lamy Mango, not so much. And then this is the last one, and that's one that I actually put into a fountain pen again. And I can tell you the reason why I went with this instead of the Manyo Nekoyanagi is because the way the ink dried on the Tomoe River paper in the written sample, not on the swatch, but the writing that I'm going to add later, it's leaning towards pink magenta, and wow, did that look cool. And it looked a bit darker, and so I was hopeful that it would be darker in a fountain pen. Yeah, I will have to wait and see if that is actually true. I filled my pen when it wasn't completely dry yet, after I had cleaned it, and so maybe I actually diluted the ink now, so I don't know. But this is also an ink that is really amazing. I received this one from my friend Amy a long time ago, and it's about time that I'm putting this ink into a pen, just because I feel like I can actually enjoy this gift that I was given when it's in the pen. So these are the 4 inks that I swatched, and I think they really work well, brighten up that palette that I have going already. Yes, of course, I could just empty out all of my pens and start new, but I feel kind of challenged, and it's exciting to brighten it up and change it up a bit with inks that are already there. I write those, hopefully will write those inks or fountain pens empty and dry when they're done. Here I'm showing you what it looks like when it's dry. I love the teal turquoise shading that is going on in the Manyo Nekoyanagi. The Lamy Mango is also a nice shader. It's just not bright enough for me. On the coloring card, it looks really bright, but on the Tomoe River paper, not so much. So I'm done. Thank you so much for watching. I am having a really hard time getting back into the rhythm of filming and creating. So I'm just filming and voicing over whatever I'm interested in at the moment. I hope I'll get back into a more better rhythm, but I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you soon. Until then, bye.